Yeah. So Krishna, so this is the instruction that Krishna gave to Arjuna. Surrender all your works unto me with full knowledge of me, without desire for profit, with no claims to proprietorship, and free from lethargy. Fight. The instruction is to fight, and Krishna says the way you do it is by surrendering the work unto me with full knowledge of me. Understand who you are, who is God, what's the relationship between you and God. With full knowledge of me means knowledge of God, without desire for profit. No, do not think of what is the profit for me if I do this or not. Just like a cashier working for a bank, right? He wouldn't think about the money he's counting as if it is for his profit, right? So no claims for proprietorship, free from lethargy. These are the three things Krishna asks to have in mind when Arjuna fights with the enemies. This is the mindset Krishna asks of Arjuna to um, for the for the conduct of battle. If you do like that, then Krishna says you will be free from bondage of fruitive actions. All the actions you perform, there won't be any sinful reaction to it. There won't be any sinful reaction to it. But if you neglect my instructions and work according to your own whims without following what I said, then all your knowledge will be befooled and ruined in your endeavors for perfection. So basically, one incurs karma by acting according to his own whims. Therefore, it will keep him in the bondage in the material world. Now, Krishna will further instruct. So, and this is an interesting verse. He says, even a man of knowledge acts according to his own nature. For everyone follows the nature he has acquired from the three modes of material nature. We discussed what is nature. Nature here, Krishna is referring to the the innate psychophysical nature of individuals. So everybody is disposed to act in a certain way. Like a kshatriya, his uh, his disposition is to protect and to rule. To rule is his disposition, and to protect the citizens is his nature. So he has to act accordingly. Right? He cannot act like a Vaishya or a Brahmana. Brahmana means he will forgive. Like Arjuna is in a situation where he says, I want to act like Brahmana. I want to forgive these Kauravas and I go to forest and do meditation. Uh, but that doesn't work for a Kshatriya because Kshatriya by his nature, he is not meant to act like a Brahmana. If he acts temporarily also, he will regret later. You know, if somebody says, "Oh, Arjuna, you ran away from the battlefield without, because you were covered," he'll get angry immediately because that's not his nature to forgive when somebody insults. Kshatriya cannot forgive when somebody insults, right? So they are primarily in the mode of passion. So you should act according to your nature. Do not act like a Brahmana. That's not your nature. That's what Krishna informs Arjuna here.
Prabhu.
So, go ahead, Prabhu. You have a question?
So is the nature is a yes, Prabhu. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Is a nature is a transcendental nature, Prabhu, or this is material nature?
This is the material nature, the material aspect of it. So, because you have a body, um, you have a certain psychophysical nature. So, according
Okay,
to your
so
psychophysical
Prabhu,
nature, one is divided into, four. Varna and ashrama is based on one's physical existence in the material world. Varnas are basically in the world. If you take, there will always be these four classes. There will be Brahmanas,
mhm,
there will be Kshatriyas,
mhm,
there will be
mhm.
Vaishyas and Sudras. Now, if
Yes,
you see in
yes.
the current society also, there will be always people who are Brahminical in nature. So, for
Mhm,
example, all the teachers are like that. Their nature is Sattvaguna, primarily Sattvaguna. Teaching profession itself is in a Sattvaguna mode. Hmm? Um, and then Kshatriya, more or less, our politicians are not really great Kshatriyas, but that is like that. Rule and to work on behalf of the citizens. IAS administrators, IAS
Yes.
officers, IPS officers, they're all in that Kshatriya role, or
Right. Right.
top management. And then you will see Vaishyas, primarily businessmen who are motivated by money, right? That's
Hmm.
Vaishya nature. We will read more about these modes of nature in the future, in depth. We
Yes.
will study
Yes.
in 16th
Yes.
chapter, in 15th chapter, 17th chapter. And then Sudras. Sudras means
Also,
they want to work for others. They're not individually sustainable. They need to work under somebody else. They would serve all the three other categories of people: Brahmana, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas. That's innate nature. Um, that's how
right.
people are born. Yeah. I'm hearing some
So,
echo.
Prabhu, transcendental nature and
Hmm.
spiritual nature, does it mix up, or they're always separate?
They're always separate. I mean, the transcendental nature of all the jivas is to be, to act as a
Serve the whole.
servant of, God. That is the transcendental nature of every jiva, whether it is an animal or a human or a tree or a plant. The nature of any
Yes.
jiva, the spiritual nature of any jiva is to serve. But the problem is the jiva has forgotten his original connection with God, right, in the material world. So that knowledge is taken away, right? Ignorance is covered, right? That's what we discussed in the other day. The ignorance covered by the individual desire of jiva, because he wanted to be independent of God. So his knowledge is covered. So he is ignorant and he comes to this material world. Now he wants to be happy because that's the nature of the soul. Soul wants to be always happy. Now he tries to find happiness in this world in various ways because he forgot the relationship with God. That is the true happiness when he is in connection with God. But now he is in the material world with the material body. Now he's trying to be happy in this material world with the material conditions. So that's where all these modes of nature would influence him based on his desires. If somebody is lusty, he has certain influenced by certain sense objects. Somebody is greedy, is influenced by, whenever he comes in contact with those sense objects, he'll get agitated. So modes of nature would influence. They are like offerings. You come, enjoy this, enjoy this, like that. The modes of
I
nature
see.
would
I see.
always
Yeah.
influence the jiva, and jiva,
Jiva.
according to his own inner desire, contaminated
Yeah.
desire, he would be
Uh-huh.
influenced by all these desires, according to
Okay.
his lust, vasanas.
Right.
Vasanas.
Yes.
Vasanas are
Yes.
the coverings of the on the conditioned soul. Conditioned soul means the pure soul is covered by vasanas. Vasanas are desires to enjoy various things in this world, right? So the pure soul doesn't have these desires, but out of ignorance, when he's in the material world, he developed all these lusty desires to enjoy this world in various ways, thinking that they will give him happiness, right? So,
I see. Yes.
so
Yes.
that is
Yes.
that that is
That.
not that is not our nature.
Right. Right.
The nature that we are referring to here is the psychophysical nature,
Yes, bro.
and there are
Uh-huh.
the second category is vasanas.
Okay. So material nature.
Yeah,
Vasanas.
the material nature has two aspects. One is
Okay.
the,
Got it.
the psychophysical nature, the mental
Uh-huh.
state of jiva. Second is this is the inclination. The second is vasanas.
Mm-hmm.
Vasanas are the negative coverings on the jiva, right? So that Krishna talks about this here, right? So we'll start reading this.
Okay.
In
Okay.
Yeah,
Got it.
इन्द्रियास्येन्द्रियास्यार्धे रागद्वेषौ व्यवस्थितौ तयोर्नवासम् आगच्छेत् तौ हि अस्या परिपन्थिनौ. Though there are principles to regulate attachment and aversion pertaining to the senses and sense objects. One should not come under the control of such attachment and aversion, because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. So this here, Krishna. So previously he said, what can repression accomplish? Uh, don't stop acting according to your psychophysical nature, right? One must act according to his nature. If you're a kshatriya, this is basically the nature of jiva as a kshatriya or a brahmana, that kind of nature, psychophysical nature. But here he's talking about vasanas. Vasanas means we also have the other aspect of covering, which is the negative aspect. We are attracted to certain things, we are attached to certain things, we don't like certain things, right? For a conditioned soul, for example, we are attached to eating nice sweets, watching nice movies, or playing certain games. So these are all our attachments. We like those. We watching these, watching that. We like that. And for example, a conditioned soul does not have taste for chanting. Whenever chanting comes, he's not interested. Or whenever Bhagavad Gita class time comes, they are not interested. There are so many people in this world. Why only like 16 of you or 20 of you attend the class regularly? Because you have certain regulation. Okay, this 1 hour is for me to understand the purpose of life. That's how you have all decided. Yes, I'm going to spend my time uh, to understand God, right? So that is, you know, you have, that may not be your nature. You could be spending your time with your family or watching movie or going out, seeing or doing certain things in this 1 hour. But you have prioritized to be with all of us in this class. So that is basically regulation. Regulation means uh, do not fall prey to attachments and aversion. Oh, I like doing this. I like playing game, and so I'm going to spend my day and night in playing game. You should not be like that. Hmm? There are principles to regulate attachment and aversion pertaining to senses and sense objects. Sense objects means the object that gives us gratification, right? It could be a television, or it could be a movie, or it could be a party, whatever could be one's object of gratification. Um, one should have, one should regulate his attachment to such things, or aversion to certain good things. Like for example, one uh, may not like chanting at this conditional state, because conditional soul is not finding a lot of joy in chanting, so they may find excuses to not chant every day. So we should avoid such things. No, we should. Yes, every day I'm going to chant, just like military, right? Military, every day they wake up at same time, they go to exercise, they practice, just like how a military man does in the beginning. It's called Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. Vaidhi means there is no impetus, there is no great joy. Some people will find joy in chanting. I'm not saying everybody doesn't, nobody of you, none of you like chanting. But some of us may not really like chanting, but still we should chant. Just like we may not like medicine, but still we take it, right? When we have fever, do we consider, oh, I don't like eating medicine, I'm not going to take it. I don't like injection, so I will not take vaccine. We'll not do that, because for our greater good we act. We go through certain pain, and then the benefit is going to be long term, right? So similarly, in the beginning, we may have aversion to chanting, we may have aversion to attending Bhagavad Gita class, we may have aversion to certain things which are ultimately good for us, which are shreyas, which is the long term good for us. But we may not see the benefit immediately. Oh, our mind says, oh, don't go. What is the point of attending class every week? You don't need to. You can go play, or you can go enjoy your time watching a movie. Our mind says all these suggestions, time and again. Oh, it's boring. What's the point? Like that. It gives so many suggestions. We should not. Krishna says we should regulate attachment and aversion pertaining to senses and sense objects. One should not come under the control of such attachments and aversion because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self realization. So we should be regulated. Okay, it's not that you don't enjoy at all in your life. You have certain taste. Okay, give it certain time. Regulate it. Do not do it all the time. Okay, regulate it. Those who are in Krishna consciousness are naturally reluctant to engage in material sense gratification. But those who are not in such consciousness should follow the rules and regulations of the revealed scriptures. So, the scriptures, for our own good, give us instructions on what should be done, what should not be done, right? So, there are instructions like one should avoid any illicit relationships, for example, right? That's one instruction. One should avoid intoxication. Do not drink wine or intoxicants. Those are all regulations. One should try to, one should try to follow if he's on the spiritual path. Because unrestricted sense enjoyment is the cause of material encasement. But one who follows the rules and regulations of revealed scriptures does not become entangled by the sense objects. Right? If we, unrestricted sense enjoyment, if we do sense enjoyment without any restrictions, what is the, uh, yeah, so without any restrictions, then that will become a bondage for us. We'll develop more and more attachment to it, and we cannot give up. And so that attachment will keep us in this material world forever. So we should be very careful about that. So he says, for example, sex enjoyment is a necessity for the conditioned soul, and sex enjoyment is allowed under the license of marriage ties. According to scriptural injunctions, one is forbidden to engage in sex relationship with any woman other than one's wife. All other women are to be considered as one's mother. Uh, but in spite of such injunctions, a man is still inclined to have sex relations with other women, right? Uh, because it is natural for a man to be attracted to woman and a woman to be attracted to man, and our scriptures do not completely deny, oh, you should not have any relationship. So it is made sacred through the license of marriage ties. Within marriage life, you restrict your this kind of enjoyment, right? But beyond that, you should treat everybody else as a mother. That's why within our movement we call everybody mother, mataji, right? So by such, by actually speaking like that, we actually treat them like mothers. Everybody should be treated, every woman should be treated like mother. Yeah. So I mean, another point is sex enjoyment is a necessity for conditioned soul. It says here. It's not on the necessity at the level of, like, food, water, or clothing. Those are absolute necessary. Air. You cannot live without that. There are people who can, you know, who have uh, who have higher taste, who have developed their vertical relationship with God strongly. That bond with God is strong. For them, it's not like a basic necessity. But for most people, like 99% of the people, they need this. So that's why Vedic system has this uh, uh, arrangement of marriage. It's allowed within. So it's also performed with a yajna, a fire sacrifice, because it's an auspicious event, and promising to all the demigods that we are going to live for each other for throughout our life, right? So that's how uh, marriage is made as sacred. And the purpose of marriage is not just to is not to have just sex. That's the So the real purpose is to serve God together. That's the real purpose of marriage, right? um, but within that arrangement for procreation, one can have uh, sex relationship with the wife, right? That's allowed. Again, that is also, it's not like, it should be also very limited. It should not be like, it's, one should not, a man should not see wife as his sex object. Even wife should not see that perspective. It should be, well, the real purpose is to create children, to bring children, God conscious children to this world. That's the only purpose. So we should be very careful even within marriage. Should not engage in sense gratification too much. Any sense gratification, eating, sleeping, or sex, anything too much is not good. We should be very very limited uh, to the necessity. That's it. These propensities are to be curbed. Otherwise, they will become stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. As long as the material body is there, necessities of material body are allowed. Now, all these are necessities of material body, but under rules and regulations. And yet, we should not rely upon the control of such alliances. One has to follow those rules and regulations unattached to them, because practice of sense gratification under regulations may also lead to one to go astray. You see, that's what we are discussing. We should not, because just because I'm a grihastha married, I should not, eat too much and have too much sex, things like that. We should be very regulated within this, as much as there is always the chance of accident even on the royal roads. Although they may be very carefully maintained, no one can guarantee that there will be no danger even on the safest road. Yeah. The sense enjoyment spirit has been current a very long time, owing to the material association. We are, all of us have been in this material world for a very very long time, for many millions of birth times, right? So we are constantly in touch with material nature. So there is going to be strong influence on us towards our that are creating our attachments and aversions. So therefore, in spite of regulated sense enjoyment, there is every chance of falling down. So therefore, any attachment for regulated sense enjoyment must also be avoided by all means. Yeah. But attachment to Krishna consciousness or acting always in the loving service of Krishna detaches one from all kinds of sensory activities. This is a powerful point. So in Krishna consciousness, we do not focus on detachment from sense objects. That's not the focus. The focus is on attachment to Krishna. Our attachment is towards sense objects like cars, homes, jewelry, all these things. Now we divert that attention to Krishna. Krishna becomes the focus, right? So when Krishna becomes the focus, then automatically detachment on all this means we are not really, we use it, but not for, that's not our you know uh, the prime focus. The attachment to all these other things will slowly and slowly gradually go down. That's how it works, right? In other systems like Jnanamarg and yoga system, the Patanjali yoga system, their focus is more on detachment, right? Uh, so that's a very uh, that's very difficult actually compared to Krishna conscious method of yoga, because it, for the conditioned soul, attachment to all these objects is so strong. If he were to be asked to stop all that attachments, it's such a pain. If somebody is taking cigarette every single day, for example, right, he's taking cigarette every single day, he's 5 packs or 6 packs he's taking every day. Now suddenly to stop that is going to make him crazy. Within few days, his brain will reel over, right? Because he's so attached to it, it's so difficult to give it up. On the other hand, if he's given an alternative, he can smoke, but what he smokes is not tobacco. He's just smoking some, you know, some artificial thing which doesn't cause any damage to his body, right? That's a that's not, that's an alternative attachment. It's not a complete detachment from the previous thing. It's like an alternative attachment. So similarly, um, you have desire to eat. Say I have a desire to eat gulab jamun. Frankly speaking, I like to eat gulab jamun, right? So uh, one way is, okay, I know because I'm practicing yoga, I should not be attached to eating gulab jamun. So I'm not going to cook them or eat them completely. Completely make myself away from gulab jamun, right? Completely stop anything to do with gulab jamun. That's one way of developing detachment in this material. The other way is I eat in a regulated way, not too much when available, but I offer it to God and take it as prasadam, right? And in that sense, the object is purified. The bhoga that you are offering to God becomes purified, and you honor it as prasadam. So you have certain attitude towards eating that, meaning you treat it as a, okay, this is a sacred job. It's a no, this is a sacred activity. Krishna, out of causeless mercy, has given this prasadam to me, so I'm going to honor this. Then you won't be eating too much because you're honoring prasadam, right? It's a very respectfully you're eating. In that way, you would regulate it. You are not stopping eating. So that is the beauty of Krishna consciousness. We don't need to stop what we are doing. We just need to regulate it. You see the difference? It becomes so much easy. You want to eat, you want to play, you can do everything. You want to dance, you can dance for Krishna in the temple. We have Sankirtan. When temples open again, we all can go and participate in the kirtan that happens in the temple. So everything we can do in a regulated way, right? That's the beauty of Krishna consciousness. Any questions so far? Anybody on restrictions or any of this that we discussed? This is a very important verse. No questions? Yeah. Shreyan Swadharma, Shreyan Swadharma Viguna.
And hello.
Yeah. Go ahead, Prabhu.
I think there is some delay, Prabhu.
Oh, can you hear me now? I think my internet is a little weak today. Can you hear now? Your voice is also breaking to me. Mm,
Is it?
yeah. Is it only me that is having a network issue here? How many of you are not able to hear? Can you, uh, can you?
We can hear you, Prabhu, but there is some delay.
Okay, okay. Okay, then that's okay. If you can hear, that's good enough. Tulasi, is anyone speaking? I'm hearing some kind of a Sagar Prabhu. Are you saying something? I can't hear clearly.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear, Prabhu. You have a question?
Yeah. So we have this subtle body, right? Mind, intelligent, ego.
Correct.
Are these same as vasanas that you're talking about?
No. Mind, intelligence, and ego. They are they are uh, they are material elements within you. They are very subtle elements. Just like there are various levels of elements, right? For example, earth is very gross. Water is subtle than earth, water, and then uh, air. No, fire is subtler than water, right? Uh, Fire has form, uh, earth has form, water has form. And then subtler than fire is air. Air, you don't even have a form, right? Air doesn't even have form. Subtler than air is ether, space. Space is a material element, which is the subtlest of all the material elements, all the gross material elements. And subtler than all these gross elements is subtle elements. Subtle elements are mind, intelligence, and ego. These are subtlest of all elements. If you look at the level of grossity of all these elements, mind, intelligence, and ego is subtler than uh, even either space, right? So, but they are material elements. Vasanas are not material elements. Vasanas are attributes, properties, or characteristics of certain desires. So they are like, they constitute within the mind. For example, vasanas are elements within the mind, right? They are like constituent parts of mind. Vasana is a specific desire in a seed form, right? So before the desire manifests externally, they are in the seed form. Seed form means it is waiting for the right time to fructify, right? As soon as you come in contact with certain sense of, certain atmosphere that is congenial, you would exhibit your vasana. For example, uh, suppose, there is a person, while he was actually this thing happened. I'm not going to name the politician. So that politician, when he was, is like a regular MP, he was very, very normal. But when he became speaker of the, of the country, immediately he started behaving very differently. He started, showing his power because his vasanas come out at that time. So people, when they don't have, the congenial atmosphere is not there, the vasanas won't exhibit. For example, suddenly somebody saw a picture which is, uh, or picture which is provoking certain desires in him, right? Could be a lusty picture or a, angry picture. Immediately the desire would provoke in him, right? For example, we read newspaper, suddenly we hear about violence or something. You develop certain emotions, right? That's all based on your vasanas. Vasanas means preconditions from your past life. They come to you into current life, and they are in the seed form. Basically, your desires are packaged into small seed form in the form of vasanas. When this, when the vasanas are the inclinations, you have these inclinations, right? You have certain inclinations in life. You may be, inclined to read more, or chant more, or hear more, or watch more. These are inclinations that are within our mind. So those are waiting for the opportunities. As soon as a moment comes which is, congenial for exhibiting that vasana, it will jump over, and you would be suddenly, people say, oh, how could I do that? It's actually, they could not believe that they would do such a thing, but they do it when the opportunity comes. That's because of the vasanas within their heart. They are the desires in the seed form. As soon as the atmosphere is congenial, they would just exhibit themselves. Is that clear, Sagar Prabhu? So vasanas are like seeds within the mind. As soon as the situation is congenial, they jump out and act, show their energy to you. Sorry, can you? Is
Got
that
it.
clear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Prabhu, that's clear. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Mind is like a, let's say, like a hard drive, right? And vasanas are like some softwares, viruses within that. Yeah. No, actually, brain is like the hardware, The brain is like the hardware. So your
Yes.
physical brain is the hardware to keep the subtle mind, and like our software is the mind, and these vasanas are like viruses within the software that attack the software. Okay, we read this verse. So it is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though faultily, than another man's duties perfectly. Destruction in the course of performing one's own duty is better than engaging in another's duties. For to follow another's path is dangerous. Is somebody asking a question? Somebody's voice came out. Okay, I just muted everyone. If you have a question, you can unmute yourself.
Yes,
Yeah. Go ahead, Prabhu.
yes, Prabhu. Able to hear me?
Yeah, your voice is breaking.
Hare Krishna.
I'm. Yeah. Can you repeat your question, Prabhu?
My question was, Prabhu, does the vasana comes from previous life, or it get develops in this life, or it is both?
It's both. It develops based on our inclinations, our desires in the current life. We cannot fulfill all our desires. So we keep accumulating in our mind. Oh, I want to do this, but I don't have. I want to live in a nice bungalow with 10 rooms and 5 servants and 20 cars, right? Somebody may have dream like that, but his money and his situation, and all those things do not permit. So that remains like a seed in the heart, seed in the mind, that would look for an opportunity to jump out and exhibit itself, if not in this life, in the future life. So we are constantly accumulating vasanas.
Oh, so there's
Yeah,
no end. It just keeps
there is
going.
no end. That's why we need to understand the purpose of life, our relationship with God. These things keep these vasanas at bay. And as long as you keep these viruses within your heart, you have to take another birth, because you still haven't cleared your heart completely. Your mind is not clean. As long as it is not clean, if mind is not filled with God completely, it is filled with other things, garbage. And as long as you have desire to enjoy, God would send you to this world again and again. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. Come back again and again and again. That is the reason. That's what is bondage within this samsara chakra means. That's what Jiva hasn't cleared his mind of the vasanas, of the desires to enjoy in this world. As long as you have those desires, you have to continue coming here. Doesn't mean we develop detachment, artificially. We instead transfer our attachment to spiritual things. Spiritual life is not a dry, tasteless. It's full of life, full of real life, because we are actually spirit soul. Our real place is spiritual world, and it is the most vibrant place. In the spiritual world, every word is a song, they say, right? And
Yeah.
every moment is a joy of, filled with full of joy, and
Yes.
everybody is full of eternal happiness, and there is no limit to the joy there. That's where we want to get, right? So for that, for example, if you want to get into IIT, you need to give up certain things. You need to work hard in certain way. You need to follow certain rules and regulations. Work hard for 2 years, and then you write the exam and you succeed in the test, right? So similar,
Yes.
for achieving spiritual goal also, we need to regulate our life. And once you achieve, that's that's where your real joy is going to be there. So Krishna here is talking about once Sreyan Swadharma Viguna. It
Thank
is,
you, Prabhu.
yeah, thank you, Prabhu. It is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties. Whatever prescribed duties, Kshatriya, fighting is his prescribed duty. Even though faultily, you may not be doing perfectly, but still it is all right. Then another's duties perfectly. Don't become like a Brahmana and act like a Brahmana, right? Destruction in the course of performing one's own duty is better than engaging in another's duties, right? If you are inclined to in a certain way, even if you lose, it doesn't matter. It is still the right thing for you. For to follow another's path is dangerous, because it's not you according to your psychophysical nature. So it's not meant for you. So this is very important, right? In India, especially in India, everybody wants to become an engineer. Now there are thousands and thousands of engineers. There are not enough jobs, and many of these engineers, they're not really inclined to be engineers, but because society's pressure, you know, neighbors' pressure, and friends' pressure, families' pressure, all these pressures make them take this one path. Everybody is becoming either engineer or doctor. There is no other, there is no other option they look at. It's not like that in Vedic times. Everybody, we need to discover ourselves. Two discoveries. One is the spiritual discovery, which is who we are spiritually. We are that spirit soul and act in our relationship with God. That is just spiritual discovery. And also our material discovery, which is to discover our psychophysical nature and engage our senses accordingly. Because your psychophysical nature matches uh, your psychophysical nature matches uh, your uh, your nature, your duties. It's very natural for you to perform that work, even if it is somewhat sometimes stressful. You don't mind it. If you like, suppose I was hearing one great singer. His name is SP Balasubramanian. He recently passed away. Because I used to like him. He sang many beautiful uh, you know songs as well, which are devotional songs, um, in movies like Annamaya and all. I like him personally. So when somebody asked him, how do you sing so many songs? Did you not feel tired or bored with your singing? He said, singing is my breath. I enjoy when I sing. That's my nature. And if I don't sing, I'll be upset. If I don't have the opportunity to sing, that is the most stressful situation for me. So it's basically saying, if your duties are according to your psychophysical nature, it becomes very natural for you to perform your duty. And when the strain come, when the stress come, you will be able to withstand with that. You don't turn your back to it. You don't get afraid. You don't get succumb to it. You don't think of, I'm not going to do this anymore, because that's according to your psychophysical nature. You still hang on to it. You will succeed ultimately, because that's, you don't feel it ever as stress, because that's your nature. So we need to discover ourselves also, in terms of where our psychophysical nature is. Not only ourselves, our kids, we should never force them to become in a certain way. They need to understand who they are, where they can fit best, and where they can contribute to the society in the best way. When they do that, they would succeed in their life in whatever chosen field they have taken. Because they don't take stress when things not go in their way. They're ready to put extra effort, like that. They will be really liking their work, right? So while we have this material body, we also need to understand where we fit best and work according to that, right? So it's a very practical instruction for all of us, as well as on our way of dealing with our own family and children. We should never force them to become an engineer or a doctor. If they're somebody is maybe very creative, they may not be good at math, right? um, if you make a fish walk, will it ever succeed? It will feel all its life as if it's I'm a biggest failure in life, right? That's how it is. So we should let them uh, discover themselves, and they flourish like a flower, right? Because they are able to engage their senses according to their psychophysical nature, and we need to help them discover also. It's not that we don't do any help in that sense, right? That's a very important instruction, right? Any questions on this? So here, duties on the spiritual platform and duties on the material platform may be different. I was telling about, right? We have spiritual nature and we have spiritual duties. Like we are all hearing, that is a spiritual duty you're doing. And you're also, many of you are chanting every day at home, at least one round. So that is also spiritual duty. Some of you started offering to God, right? That's a spiritual duty. And duties on the material platform, like we are all working for a job, we different jobs. So but the principle of following the authorized direction is always good for the performer. When one is under the spell of the modes of nature, one should follow the prescribed duties for his particular situation and should not imitate others. For example, a Brahmana who is in the mode of goodness is non-violent, whereas a Kshatriya who is in the mode of passion is allowed to be violent. As such, for a Kshatriya, it is better to be vanquished following the rules of violence than to imitate a Brahmana who follows the principle of non-violence. Everyone has to cleanse his heart by a gradual process, not abruptly. However, when one transcends the modes of mental nature and is fully situated in Krishna consciousness, he can perform anything and everything under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master. Yeah. So in that complete stage of Krishna consciousness, Kshatriya may act as a Brahmana or a Brahmana may act as a Kshatriya. But that is again when one is uh, purified under the guidance of a spiritual master, not for everybody. So in the transcendental stage, the distinction of the material world do not apply. For example, Vishwamitra was originally a Kshatriya, but later he acted as a Brahmana. Whereas Parashurama was a Brahmana, but later acted as a Kshatriya. We all know the story of Vishwamitra Muni. He was a great Kshatriya ruling the world for many years, but he uh, he he did tapasya and became a Brahmarshi, great sage, right? And Parshurama is also, he was a Brahmana, son of a Brahmana, and but when he saw that kings of the world are very draconian, they are not performing their duties properly, he went on a rampage of killing Kshatriyas all over the world. Parshurama was a Brahmana, but later acted as a Kshatriya. But being transcendentally situated, they could do so because they are already pure spirit souls. They're very purified. They are on the yogic platform. They're able to do that. But as long as one is on the material platform, he must not do his duties, perform his duties according to the mode. He must perform his duties according to the modes of material nature, hmm, which is basically our psychophysical nature. At the same time, he must have full sense of Krishna consciousness. Now, after hearing this, it's all good in theory. One must perform one's duties very sincerely, strictly. Arjuna had a question. Now he'll ask that. Arjuna uvacha atah kena prayuktoyam papam charati purushaha anichan api varshenya balad iva niyojita. Arjuna said, O descendant of Vrishni, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force? Right? All of us have some experience or have seen or read in the news about people acting, sinfully, as if impelled by force. Suddenly, all of a sudden, a very good gentleman becomes a very bad man and acts, becomes angry, or does some certain things uh, as if by force. What is that causes that kind of a change in sudden behavior of an individual? Why is uh, you know uh, why a jiva acts sinfully in this material world, even though he is not willing? He's not actually willing to be. He doesn't like to be angry. He doesn't like to be lusty. He doesn't like to be greedy. But still, suddenly, as if by force, there is some force in this world that makes a jiva act in a certain way. What is that? What is that sinful force within the jiva that forces him to act sinfully? Very practical question, right? Because even though we all want to be Krishna conscious, there is some force within us that stops us sometimes, right? So we need to understand and you know we need to understand that force.
Desires.
Desires. Good shot. Good shot. Almost there, but there is a different word for it to put it. We'll come to it in the next verse. What is that?
Temptations, Prabhuji.
Yeah, temptation is a translation of that word. Yeah, we'll come to it. A living entity as part and parcel of the Supreme is originally spiritual, pure, and free from all material contaminations. Therefore, by nature, he is not subject to sins of the material world. But when he is in contact with the material nature, he acts in many sinful ways without hesitation, and sometimes even against his will. As such, Arjuna's question to Krishna is very sanguine as to the perverted nature of the living entities. Although the living entity sometimes does not want to act in sin, he is still forced to act. Sinful actions are not, however, impelled by the super soul within, but are due to the another cause, as Lord explains in the next verse. Now is the secret going to be revealed. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Kamesha Krodha Esha Rajoguna Samudbhava Mahashano Mahapapma Vidhiyenam Ihavairinam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Sri Bhagavan Vacha, it is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material mode of passion and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all devouring sinful enemy of this world. So, what is our real enemy? It is the lust. Lust doesn't mean, oh, a man having lust towards a woman having lust towards a man. That's not the only lust. Lust means uh, a strong desire to enjoy in this world anything. It could be a car, it could be a bungalow, or it could be a job, or anything. Lust, unfulfilled desire, strong desire. How does it come? It comes because of the born of the contact with the material mode of passion. We said, right, there are three modes: mode of goodness, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. All the objects in this world can also be divided into these three modes, right? um, Within foods, uh, certain foods are considered uh, in the mode of goodness. The food that is juicy, succulent, sweet, these are all in the mode of goodness. The foods that have a lot of masala, that would taste bitter, or sore. Those are all in the mode of passion, right? And when you eat that, with lot of masala and this thing, that will increase your mode of passion. And there are foods which are in the mode of ignorance, which are very detrimental, right? So, for example, meat, or drinking wine will intoxicate will intoxicate you and make you delirious, right? You feel like you lost your consciousness. So those are all in the mode of ignorance. So as much as possible, we should take rice, dals, and vegetables. These are all in the mode of goodness. Sugar, fruits, vegetables. They can be consumed by they are the best to consume when you offer to God, especially. So here, when somebody comes in contact with mode of passion, he can develop potentially lust, the desire to enjoy. That later transforms into wrath. Wrath means anger, because when you have a strong desire and the desire is not fulfilled, you become frustrated naturally, and that is the all devouring sinful enemy of this world. That is our real enemy in this world, wrath. Sorry, lust. So Arjuna was given certain instructions. Now, to follow those instructions, one needs to uh, understand what are the obstacles in following that. So Krishna is now giving some idea on what are the things that can stop him in following his prescribed duties, in following his rule, regulating his life, right, according to rules and regulations. So Krishna is warning Arjuna, hey, there is this thing called lust that exists within the jiva's mind, and when it comes in contact with mode of passion, it turns into wrath, you know and you should be very careful about. And Krishna not only give, so Krishna says it's actually enemy, it's a sinful enemy of this world. Not only you, everybody in this world is being having this enemy, sinful enemy called lust within their heart, right? So Krishna is giving a hint on who is the enemy, and now in the next verse he will tell what all places the enemy resides. Because if you want to gain victory, you need to know enemy and also where he resides, so that you don't visit that place or you shoot him down, right? So you need to know the places where the enemy resides. Yeah. So now Prabhupada here explains nicely how the jiva comes to this material world. When a living entity comes in contact with material creation, his eternal love for Krishna or God is transformed into lust. The original love towards God is transformed into lust. Now that original love is not there because Jiva has forgotten his relationship with God in the material world. Now that same love that he has, that thirst, that strong desire to love God, has transformed into a metamorphed into something called lust within this material world. To enjoy, he's looking for the same joy, but he's not finding, right? So he's trying in various ways to fulfill his self through various engagements within this material world. So that same love towards God has transformed into lust in the material world in association with mode of passion. So if this lust is completely taken out, there is only love. And when there is only love, you have no place in this material world. You are only in the spiritual world. Or, in other words, the sense of love of God becomes transformed into lust. As milk in contact with sour tamarind is transformed into yogurt, then again, when the lust is unsatisfied, it turns into wrath. Wrath is transformed into illusion, and illusion continues the material existence. So, this is the path in which the material existence will continue, right? So, you have a desire to fulfill certain things. This is all the source root is vasanas, uh, right? So when lust is unsatisfied, it turns into wrath. It becomes angry. You become angry because your desire is not fulfilled. And wrath is transformed into illusion. Then you think, oh, this is my enemy. This is my friend. This is the guy who is causing me, taking my, he's stopping my desires to be fulfilled. So that is all illusion. Everything is happening according to your karma, but everybody is an instrument in that game. And you think this is my enemy. This is all illusion. In illusion will continue your existence in the middle world. As long as you have these enemies, friends within this middle world, you will continue to exist in this world. Not only that, I mean, you have, as long as you have certain ideas on how to enjoy in this world, those are all illusions. So this is Maya. Maya means that which is not. You think I can enjoy like this, that. Those are all elements of illusion in the mind. Those are the reasons for our continued existence. Why is it called Maya? Because Maya and Krishna are both attractive, very attractive. Krishna will attract and also satisfy, gives you happiness and satisfaction. Maya will give you, Maya is attractive, but in the end, it will not satisfy. Whatever you take, any material desire you try to fulfill, it, it appears like you are satisfied, but you are never satisfied. There is that quest for more and more. Just like somebody becomes millionaire, then billionaire, then the richest in the world, still is not satisfied. He has so many things to fulfill still. So that illusion keeps on continuing forever. It's an unending desire, right? Uh, so that makes him to continue. He has certain things unfulfilled, so he has to come back to this world again to fulfill. So therefore, lust is the greatest enemy of the living entity, and it is lust only which induces the pure living soul to remain entangled in the material world. That's what we summarized just now. Wrath is the manifestation of the mode of ignorance. These modes exhibit themselves as wrath and all other corollaries. If therefore the mode of passion, instead of being degraded into mode of ignorance, is elevated to the mode of goodness by the prescribed method of living and acting. So what makes us to live in the mode of goodness? Just by changing our lifestyle. That's it. Just like we can avoid many diseases, lifestyle diseases like diabetes, blood pressure, but just living a simple happy life, right? God-centered life. So similarly, uh, one can elevate to mode of goodness by by performing by prescribed method of living and acting in the then one can be saved from the degradation of the wrath by spiritual attachment. Yeah, there is further description here. Yeah. This material creation is created by the Lord to give facility to the conditioned souls to fulfill these lustful propensities. And when completely baffled by prolonged lustful activities, the living entities begin to inquire about their real position. So the conditioned jiva in this material world will, will try to enjoy in various ways, and when completely baffled by prolonged lustful activities, after trying to be, trying to enjoy forever, he will ultimately give up at some point. That time he will inquire about his real, real position of who he is. This inquiry is the beginning of the Vedanta Sutras, wherein it is said, Athato Brahma Jignasa. One should inquire into the Supreme. And the Supreme is defined in Srimad Bhagavatam as Janmadi Asya Yato Anvayad Itaratascha Ardhesu Avignaswarat. The origin of everything is Supreme Brahman. So Athato Brahma Jignasa means one should inquire into the Supreme. So when he is frustrated, then he will realize, I need to understand who am I. That is when his search for God begins. Then he will realize who that supreme is, and that supreme is defined in Srimad Bhagavad, Janmad Yasya Ato Anvayad Itarathascha. The origin of everything is that supreme Brahman. Therefore, the origin of lust is also in the supreme. If, however, lust is transformed into love for the supreme or transformed into Krishna consciousness, in other words, desiring for everything for Krishna, then both lust and wrath can be spiritualized. Hanuman, the great servitor of Lord Rama, exhibited his wrath by burning the golden city of Ravana. But by doing so, he became the greatest devotee of the Lord. We all know the story of Hanumanji, who exhibited his anger, but for the right cause, and therefore he became the greatest devotee of Lord Rama. Right. So we can also use our wrath or anger for right causes. Here also in Bhagavad Gita, Lord induces Arjuna to engage his wrath upon his enemies for the satisfaction of the Lord. Therefore, lust and wrath, when they are employed in God consciousness, Krishna consciousness, become our friends instead of our enemies. So we can engage for the right cause. Then it is okay, it is allowed. But we need to know, it cannot be misapplied. We need to do it under guidance. We cannot just, we cannot just do it without any guidance. Okay, it's 6:25. And the next few verses are very, very interesting, 38 onwards. We'll discuss and finish the chapter next week. Any questions on anything? Your voice is breaking.
Question on anger. I think I have. Let me switch. Can you hear me now?
We
Yeah.
can hear you, Nitin Prabhu.
You
Yeah,
can.
you can hear now. Yeah.
Okay. So, Prabhu, question is on the anger. When, like, if I feel I'm angry, now, how, if I am still angry and I'm still chanting, or I'm doing some devotional service, I'm angry, I'm going to the temple, doing service, and I'm saying, oh, I'm going to satisfy my anger by doing devotional service. But I don't know how do I deviate the anger for the God service. I don't know whether that will satisfy the purpose of deviating the anger to God service. I'm a little bit confused on that part.
Basically, your question is how to engage anger in the service of God. Is that right?
How do you justify? Yeah.
No, first of all of us may not have such, opportunities like Hanuman or Arjuna, right? So we should try to avoid anger. And if we are getting angry on certain thing, think if it is for your own, for your own gratification, or is it for, for a right cause. For a right cause, for example, if you are correcting your children, it is important to be angry with children, right? It's not like every time, but when they don't correct themselves, when they, it's a duty of the parent in times of need to be angry so that child will be disciplined, isn't it? And but
Yes.
you do that only on certain occasion, not every time. And when you see that it is appropriate, right, you don't do it in such a way that they get their feelings get hurt also, right? So we should be very careful when we do that. So like that, so you can engage your anger, but in your heart of the hearts, you're not doing out of mode of passion, but you are doing out of duty, right? So that's how you
Yes.
engage your anger. But some people, because their gratification is disturbed, they become mad. And we see some people shout in media, politicians in the assemblies, we see all of that, right, in India especially.
Yes.
That is out of illusion. They get frustrated really, and they speak like that, and there is never any unity in the political assemblies, because they are always selfish, and and they'll be always frustrated. Actually, they're never happy. They have some position, but they're not really happy. So that's not how we should engage. Should be very constructive and understand we are using that anger for the right purpose. Of course, we are not pure. We are still conditioned souls, and time and again will fall from the standard. That's okay, as long as you are in this path. As long as you continue to chant, you will improve slowly and steadily. Over a period of time, the you know the changes would come in your life, right? Yeah, if you're angry, one good thing is to chant immediately Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Not only angry, if you're fearful or full of anxiety, or you're meeting your boss and you want to be prepared well, right? One thing is to prepare
Mm.
your,
Yes.
your material
Yes.
or planning and whatever, right? That part is the material preparation. The spiritual preparation part is
Yes.
to chant the holy name few times, right?
Yes.
Immediately
Got it.
your consciousness changes. You can see. uh, I was talking to one of the Mataji, Uma Mataji. She said, she was a little bit anxiety, having having some kind of anxiety, but as soon as she started chanting, it has given a lot of relief to her. Is she there right now? Uma Sajikar Mataji, are you here? I think Mataji, she personally saw that experience of you know chanting the holy name, having an effect on her level of anxiety, or yeah. Uma Mataji, are you here? Oh, we can't hear you. Did you unmute? Yeah, you unmuted, but we can't still hear. Can you increase your volume? Are anybody able to hear? Only I am not able to hear, or
I can hear Mataji.
you can hear? Sorry, I couldn't hear at all. As long as you're all able to hear, Aranya Mataji also speaking. I couldn't hear anything. I don't know, some network problem on my side. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I can also hear. Yeah.
This is also pausing in between. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Is the talk over or? Okay.
Yeah, Prabhu, I was almost guiding to the question of like if I'm in the kitchen service in temple and I'm cutting vegetables, and then suddenly somebody comes and he doesn't really see it, and because of that, all vegetable gets spilled on the ground, and the ground is dirty. Now the anger comes in like, oh my God, I spent 2 hours.
Yeah.
Then like I don't get angry, or and then I have to redo it, but I have to go home also. So now my whole part of service is gone. So now one can say, oh, I have to at least tell that person, the other devotee, saying he has to be very careful, he should be doing this, that. One can say, I can say angrily, I can explain it, or I can just forget about it.
Yeah.
So the sometimes if I say it angrily, then is it a right way to say I'm still exhibiting the anger in the God service? Or
So first thing is, this is an interaction, right? You did something, you cut the vegetables. This person came and he didn't watch, and he just pushed it away, or by touched it away and it fell down, right?
yeah,
So first thing is understand why that thing happened from him, right? Before you make an opinion, we generally make an opinion of the individual, right? We think this guy is reckless and he just did this. Before coming to a conclusion, ask yourself, is there any valid reason that he did this, right? So then inquire from him, oh, did you notice that you stepped in and you touched it and everything fell down, right?
yeah,
So then he would answer, right? Oh, I'm actually very sorry. I was very unaware of this, or I didn't notice this, that it is here. And he may say, he may apologize, and he may propose that he will take care of the responsibility of cutting. That's a good thing. As long as he can do that, that's well and good.
Yeah.
If he can replace, then there is no point in
Getting angry.
we all clearly know why it happened, and he's ready to backfill the duty, right? So if he says, why did you keep it here, and that time you can say, um, this is my service to God, Krishna, and so you have actually come in the way of this service. So be careful next time. Like that, you can tell that time. And the whole point is that the person learns a lesson, right? We just our anger has no value if they become upset and don't change at all, right? It has no value. Our expressions only should have some kind of effect which is in the positive direction on the other person, whoever we are, whoever we deal with. If it's not there, there is no real value of what we did, right? We should be mindful of that. That's what I'm trying to say.
I see. Got it.
So
Yes,
yeah,
Prabhu.
we have a natural instinct, natural reflex reaction to everything in this world. Or if something happens, I react in this way. We should change from that natural reflex to stop our karmic accumulation. We should think through the eye of scripture. That is what we are trying to learn here, right? So
Yes, Prabhu.
that's why we if our mind is filled with Krishna, instructions of Krishna, Bhagavad Gita, and all this knowledge, then we start seeing through the wisdom of Gita. Everything, every situation we start seeing in that light. And any actions we do will not incur any reactions, because we don't do anything out of our our own independent free will. We do it with thought, right? So that comes with practice. We are not going to change overnight. It will take years and probably decades
Yes, Prabhu.
for our natural reflexes to change. Is that
Thank
clear?
you, Prabhuji.
Any other questions? Anybody? Sorry, my network is very bad today. I'll try to have. Anybody wants to share any important points you liked in the class today, just for everybody's sake? You can unmute yourself, raise your hand, and maybe raise your hand and state a point if you like to. Anybody? Raise your hand, meaning in the, I think in the, should be an option, right? How come I don't see? Anybody wants to share anything? Just unmute yourself and say. Nitin Prabhu, say something. What's your takeaway? Key takeaway.
Learned was the lust is a cause of material misery, and lust comes from love, actually, that gets contaminated because of the lust we suffer, we go through the misery. So that is my learning here.
Yeah.
And also nature also comes from a lust also, so vasana. So that's a lot of good learnings, Prabhu, and also practical tips by you.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhu. Anybody else wants to add some point? it's like, we're all together in this journey. You should always feel free, don't feel that, this point is very simple, or anything that you like to state, you should freely and, openly express. By sharing, it becomes concrete in your mind. Yeah, Archana Mataji.
A lot of like practical value in our life today. I had more of a question, like from actually the previous verses from 2 classes back. Again, this is from the purport. So this is from verse 29.
Oh, your voice is breaking, Mataji.
Maybe put the question in the WhatsApp group if that's better.
Yes.
Prabhu, I'm able to hear properly. Maybe the internet on your
Yeah,
side may.
I think my internet is bad. My wife is also Zoom connected to some other class, so I think that's causing issues. So okay, we'll stop here. If you have questions, Mataji, please feel free to share it in the group, and we'll take it forward. Or maybe we can take it next week also. Huh? Sorry, my side, I'm not having good network today. Okay, so we'll end the class here. Yeah, somehow my side is a problem, serious problem today. Okay, can't do much now. Yeah, Hare Krishna. We'll continue next week, and if you have questions, please feel free to share it in the WhatsApp group, and we'll discuss next week. Thank you all. Hare Krishna.
Will do, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.